This man cannot remain in power. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. I was going to put him.
Давай! Наебал! Смотри, и подъезд, красава! А им нельзя! О, все, пошел! Нельзя забегать туда!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my new video. Hope you enjoyed those funny clips. The Biden one obviously is being trended all over the world at the moment. So I'm going to start with the idiot of the day. I'll have another idiot of the day at the end, but I want to start the idiot of the day with Zelensky. So here you have Zelensky in Glastonbury. It's absolutely hilarious. So you got all of these people in Glastonbury. When people go to a festival, they don't want to be bothered with politics. They don't want to be bothered with what's happening around the world. These guys go there to watch their favorite artists. They go there to get high. They go there to get laid. You know, they don't want to see Zelensky's face. And I just want to show you this clip. It's absolutely hilarious. Zelensky is basically making an address to all of these people in the Glastonbury, and only like a few people are clapping. Everyone else is like, "Oh my God, just get him out the screen! Really, where the hell? I paid for this bloody festival. I don't want to see bloody Zelensky's face. I want to see my artists." And it's absolutely hilarious how there's only a few people clapping, and everyone else is just, "Oh my God, get him off the stage." I just want to show you this, guys. So hilarious.
Greetings, Glastonbury. The festival resumes this year after a 2-year break.
Look at everyone. Everyone's just standing there thinking, what the F? Where the hell did he come from? I paid for my ticket. I want a refund. So at the end of his thing, I'll take you right to the end. After his after basically he makes his speech, I want to show you how many people actually clap and stuff. It's actually really funny. You can see here. I mean, can you believe this shit? I mean, there's only like one. I can only see a couple of pairs of hands, and that's about it, and a couple of people actually screaming. But this is a festival. Imagine when the artist comes out and, you know, these guys are having the greatest time. They're all screaming out their lungs and jumping up and down. But with Zelensky, it's only like 2 or 3 people clapping, which means that probably 99% of them are thinking, bloody hell, I want a refund. Get him out, get him off the stage. I mean, these guys, they go to a festival to not to worry about politics, or not to worry about what's happening around the world, not to worry about high gas prices. These guys go there to have fun, and, you know, get high maybe, or maybe try and find someone, get laid, I don't know. But, you know, last thing they want to see is Zelensky's face. I just thought it's absolutely hilarious. So normally I wouldn't do this, guys, but I think some of my comments are just absolutely hilarious. This particular comment had me in stitches, and I was literally laughing for 10 to 15 minutes straight. I thought I'd share it with you guys, and this guy has to win my idiot of the day. And I'll show you why. It's just because of his response. So, you know, first of all, he says Russia is not doing shit because it's WW3. So I was just replying back saying, well, that's what the West said about Ukraine, and look at them now. And he was like, Ukraine is not part of NATO, unlike Lithuania. any attack on a NATO member will trigger Article 5 and World War III. And people keep talking about Article 5 this, Article 5 that. Everybody knows it's just a sham. It's just a sham to get people to pay for NATO. But when the push comes to the shove, trust me, they don't read the small print. You know, to implement Article 5, every single member, NATO member, will have to say, yes, let's go to war. Every single member has to do that. And I'm pretty sure that Turkey is pretty much going to say no, because Turkey has too many interests with Russia, and it's got interest in Syria. There is no way it's going to start a war with Russia. And people in NATO thought it's easy for Finland and Sweden to join NATO. And look at them now. They didn't think about Turkey, did they? They didn't think that Turkey is suddenly a stumbling block. So people that talk about Article 5, they just don't know what they're talking about. And he obviously couldn't take it. And he basically replied to me this. And he's deleted his comment since because of my reply. And I just thought it's really funny. I just thought it's absolutely hilarious. But look at his reply. I'm not your bro, and I don't trust you. You're a communist shield, and you're not worth a bullet. Sticks and stones are good enough for you, Neanderthal rejects. Nukes or not nukes. I just thought it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, this is me thinking I'm having an intellectual conversation with someone, and this just came out of nowhere. So I said to him, nice to see the real you. You know, whenever you get hit by the truth, you have basically no intelligence to respond other than that. So, you know what I mean? I mean, I just thought this guy's absolutely hilarious. Listen, guys, I'm not trying to scare you off putting comments and stuff, and I don't mind comments. I love reading all of your comments, good comments, and even stuff that comes out from the other side. I really don't mind. But if you want to talk, just make it intellectual. If you want to, you know, talk to me, talk to other members, try and be intellectual about it. There's no need for any name calling and getting all, you know, flustered like this guy. You know, there's no need for it. First of all, it just shows the class. Secondly, it just shows you intelligence. You know, if you want to have intelligent conversations with people, just have it. This is why we're here. This is a democracy. We are all here to give our own points of view. So if it's an intelligent conversation, you want to put your own point of view across, that's fine. But if you're going to be an idiot of the day, then there's no hope for you. So before I start the show, I want to talk about this article. Now we know why children are getting dumber. So I was talking about this with the missus, and I said to her, is it me, or are the children and earlier generations getting dumber and dumber and dumber? And she's like, yeah, it's true. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking exactly, why are children becoming more and more stupid? Because I remember growing up, and I remember people used to be much more intelligent back in the day. And, you know, I used to sit down with my friends. We used to have intelligent conversations and stuff. Nowadays, you start to talk to a child or anyone from a younger generation, and it's like talking to a brick wall. Seriously. You know, kids nowadays, I think we've lost a complete generation. Look, when I was around in the Iraq war, for example, there was over 1 million people protesting in the streets. You know, everyone was against the Iraq war, and nobody believed in Tony Blair's lies about weapons of mass destruction in UK. Nobody believed that crap. You know, most people in UK were against the war. I would probably say about 90-95% were against the war. They knew that America was bullshitting, and they knew Tony Blair was bullshitting. Everybody I spoke to, they weren't happy about it and stuff. But you fast forward to this generation, and so many people are just brainwashed. Everyone's like, oh, Putin is evil. They've gone to Ukraine for no reason. Putin is like Hitler. You know, Putin is losing. Ukraine is winning. I'm thinking, what the hell has happened to this generation? You know, what happened in like 20 years ago where people were much more clever and more active about what information they were being fed. Compared to today, they believe anything that the media throws at them, anything that the social media throws at them, anything. I'm just thinking there must be a reason for that. And I was thinking, and these are my thoughts, by the way, and I have read this article and it doesn't really cover everything, but my thoughts is quite a few kind of explanations for this. Number one, kids are being dumbed down on purpose. If you're stupid and you can't think, you're easily manipulated, you're easily controlled. You know, it's much easier to brainwash a stupid person than a clever person. So I think, you know, kids these days are kept stupid on purpose by the government. So in case they need a war and they need consent for a war, it's much easier to brainwash the public and brainwash the public to basically get consent for the war and do whatever the hell they want. And it's working. It's working. And the stats are there, guys. You know, the stats are there. Kids nowadays are getting dumber and dumber. There's less and less kids doing technical degrees. I'm talking about medicine and, you know, engineering, you know, really real technical degrees. There's less and less kids doing that. There's more kids doing useless degrees, degrees that, you know, not really sure what they will give you. I'm talking about useless degrees like journalism. You know, imagine studying for journalism for 3 years, then you get a job in one of the local papers, and you're basically spreading lies. You don't do any journalistic work. You're just spreading lies and propaganda. You know, what kind of useless degree is that? There's other useless degrees as well. I'm talking about sociology and all of these other crappy degrees. You get hundreds and hundreds of degrees in universities nowadays. You know, when I was growing up, universities had only kind of specialist degrees that, you know, you need very good grades to go into universities and do these specialist degrees. But nowadays, there's degrees for everything, like useless stuff as well. I've seen degrees for Klingons and Jedis and all of that crap. I mean, you just have to look at some of the ridiculous degrees out there that universities teach, and it really is idiotic. Then you got the social media aspect of it. Kids nowadays spend way too much in social media. They spend way too much playing online games. So they are not that social. So they're not, they're not basically talking to their friends and getting information, or they're not really having discussions or arguments. They basically believe anything they see on social media or hear. And also when they're playing online games as well, they probably spend hours and hours and hours playing these games. It really dumbs these kids down. And there's other reasons as well. I think there's a problem with drugs as well. I mean, back in the day, it was very, very difficult to get hold of drugs. But nowadays, every single kid I know is taking drugs. Every single kid in my neighborhood is taking drugs or doing drugs, or even worse. They're much more readily available nowadays. Nowadays, you don't even need a drug dealer. You can just order them online or from the dark web, and every kid knows how to access the dark web. Every kid knows it. And it's absolutely ridiculous. All of these kids are just being dumbed down. And I feel sad for this society that we're growing up in. And these kids are just completely brainwashed. They're all talking about woke nonsense, and they have all of these ridiculous pronouns in front of their names. I mean, what kind of crap is that? I just don't understand. All of these kids having problems with their identity. They don't know what sex they are, whether they're male, whether they're female, whether they're both, whether they're none. It's really beyond me about kids these days, and I just really feel bad for the future generation. I just hope we can kind of fix this. And another reason, I think, it was probably a really, really good reason. Kids just don't get the discipline nowadays. Back in the day when I was growing up, a little smack by my dad or my mum if I'm really naughty, it didn't really hurt me. It's a little smack on the bottom saying, all right, stop that, don't be so naughty. I didn't turn out too bad, did I? I mean, it's nothing wrong with that. I'm not talking about beating up your kids with slaps and fists and stuff. That's wrong. But a little smack to the bum, there's nothing wrong with that. And kids nowadays get away with so much. Even if you shout at a kid nowadays, someone will call the police on you, and you'll be arrested just for raising your voice to a child. And we're living in an age where kids don't have that discipline when they're growing up. They just don't. Kids nowadays get away with murder, and parents and just can't do anything, or maybe parents just don't care. And also nowadays, parents just don't have the time to look after their kids. Back then when I was growing up, parents had more time with you. Either your mum was staying at home all the time, or while your dad was working. Nowadays, you hardly see your mum or dad because they're working. They're too busy making money because everything is so expensive. You got your mortgages, you got your bills, you got your food, inflation, everything's rising up. So you have your mum and your dad, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs to make ends meet, and you hardly see them. And when you hardly see your parents, and when they don't spend that quality time with you, then obviously you're going to go crazy. I mean, that's what's happening around the world. I'm just not happy about it, to be honest. And there seriously need to be some, society changes. Otherwise, you can kiss goodbye to all of these youngsters. They're just going out of control. Anyway, I just wanted to say that and lay that on the line. Anyway, let's continue with the show, guys. So, Zelensky's advisor is now saying that Ukraine is not going to pursue NATO membership. So can you believe this? After thousands and thousands of lives that were lost on both sides, and probably more on the Ukrainian side, actually much, much more, countless, devastation and, the stuff that war does, and all of the refugees that left the country and all the destruction that's been done. Now Ukraine is saying, oh, we're not going to pursue NATO membership. Maybe it was wrong. It's a bit too late now, isn't it? Don't you think it's a bit too late? I mean, this is ridiculous saying something like that at this stage. And what is the point of saying it in front of the world's press? Why don't you say that to the Russians and try and make some peace? And what's the point of saying it now? A few weeks ago, they were like, oh, we're going to join NATO. We're going to win. Russia's going to lose. We want all our territory back, including Crimea. And now look at them. They changed after a few weeks because they are getting absolutely slaughtered. Absolutely slaughtered in Severodonetsk. Absolutely destroyed. More than 1,000 people a day are dying in the Ukrainian side. People are being sent to their deaths for no reason. All of this bloodshed could have been avoided. All of it. Anyway, it's too late now. It's just too late. Russia's going to continue. They're going to go through Odessa, go to Transnistria. And there's another reason they'll go all the way to Transnistria now. Because of Moldova. Moldova and Ukraine have been added to candidate status as part of the EU. So they know what's going to be coming through Moldova in a few years. So they're going to be right alongside Moldova's borders if Moldova tries anything. So it just gives Russia more of an impetus to go further on to Odessa and right onto the borders of Moldova into Transnistria. And all of this stuff about candidacy of joining the EU, it's just a waste of time. Just a waste of time. And I'm going to go talk about it a bit more later on. So here he says Sweden should address fundamental issues to join NATO. So I want to talk a bit about NATO, really. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, you have van der Leyen and Biden and Stoltenberg talking in front of the world's press saying NATO is now united more than ever. All of these countries have joined, are more united against Russia. We are stronger than ever. Suddenly, you can't have Sweden and Finland moving into NATO because Turkey is the stumbling block. I mean, how is that for united? I mean, absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. This doesn't sound like a united front. This sounds more like a broken front. I mean, Sweden and Finland made the most awful own goal ever. They have decided that they're going to join the West. They have not decided to be neutral. They have decided to join the West, join the European side against Russia. So they have picked sides. They have picked sides and they have nothing to show for it. How stupid do those leaders in Sweden and Finland look now? How stupid do they look? Not only in front of the world, but in front of their own people. This is absolutely hilarious, guys. Absolutely hilarious. So the US launches a new alliance in the Pacific, and this includes America, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. So I want to tell you something. This is basically AUKUS with Japan and New Zealand added to it. Because AUKUS is America, Australia, UK, and they are basically in the Pacific, and they were built specifically to be anti-Chinese. So now they're going to launch a new alliance, and they're going to add New Zealand to it, they're going to add Australia to it, and they're going to call it the Pacific NATO. I mean, how dumb is that? Why don't they just call it an extension of AUKUS and just add a couple of letters or numbers at the end? For example, you have AUKUS, now you have NZ at the end, and you can put JP at the end as well. AUKUS NZ JP or something like that. And not only that, this is also an extension of the other one, the Quad. This is like exactly like the Quad. You got America in the Quad, you got Australia in the Quad, and you got Japan in the Quad, and the only country that's not in there is India. And I think they probably want to kick India out because India has been very, very naughty. India has not been sanctioning Russia like they should have. So I think they've kicked India out and they decided to create a new alliance and call it a NATO in the Pacific. I think that's what they've done. They thought, you know, screw this bloody Quad thing. We don't like Indians anymore. So let's create a new alliance. Let's add New Zealand and Japan to it. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so stupid. You know, they have so many alliances going on, the Americans. Don't they get confused which one's which? You know, they have, you know, if they want to go to a meeting for Quad, or they want to go for a meeting for AUKUS, or they want to go to a meeting for this US NATO, won't Biden get confused which one's which? It's crazy. So I want to talk about this. So you have the EU candidacy, which has been given to Moldova and Ukraine. And as you all know, Turkey has been a candidate since 1999. But there's also other candidates in the EU as well. Very, very good candidates with really good democracies. They're also very rich. Instead, the EU decided to grant Ukraine and Moldova. And Moldova is a very poor country, very poor. It's got nothing to add to the EU. The only thing it has done is basically said that they're going to put sanctions against Russia. And that's the only thing they have said. And because of that, they have been added basically as a candidate. So basically, all you have to do is say crap about Russia and put some sanctions against Russia and you can join the EU. That's basically what it is. Absolutely stupidity, absolute stupidness. And I just can't believe the EU are getting away with shit like that. Even if Ukraine join and even if Moldova join, EU is going to be bankrupt. Because the way the EU works, you have the rich countries paying into a fund, and this fund goes into the poor countries to make the EU more even. So they're going to be paying off, you know, Moldova's debts, and they're going to be paying off Ukraine as well. they're still paying off Greece's debt. Italy's going into massive debt. Spain's going into massive debt. The rest of the EU is going to go into massive debt. Germany's going down. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what did they do? Add two poor countries. I mean, Ukraine's going to be destroyed. There won't be much of a Ukraine left by the time Russia finishes with Ukraine. There might be even a third of Ukraine, which is, if Russia takes all of the east and south, there's probably going to be a third remaining, which Ukraine has got. And, there's going to be a lot of reconstruction needed, a lot of money needed, and the EU has to pay for it. Absolutely ridiculous. Then you got exactly the same thing with Moldova. Moldova is such a poor country. They're going to have to be paying for Moldova as well. So obviously Russia isn't happy. So look at the Russian response. Medvedev threatens to shut down Moldova's gas and uses Russians in Transnistria as blackmail. So look what Medvedev says. They're trying to please their new masters without even being part of EU. Which is so true. I mean, you got to wait like 20, 30 years and go through all of these reforms before you actually join the EU. But this is candidate EU. It's not even a full EU status. So here you have a poor country like Moldova trying to please the EU and shooting themselves in the foot. So they're joining the European sanctions against our country. Well, it's their choice. Let them try. If they do, they can be 100% sure that they won't get any expensive energy from us or any resources at all. Let them enjoy the sanctions without even becoming an EU member. So you can see, the Moldovans are idiots, absolute idiots. If they try and sanction Russia and they follow their EU masters, Russia can easily cut off all the gas, all the supplies to Moldova. And what's Moldova going to do? They have to wait another 20 years to join the EU. They could be absolutely destroyed. I just can't believe how some of these countries think, seriously. They just think the EU, being part of EU is like the best thing ever. It's like the holy grail. It's not. Absolutely not. All of these countries that join the EU, they think they're part of the club. One of these days, EU is going to be absolutely destroyed. It's just going to collapse on itself. And all of these countries who are part of the EU are going to collapse with it. I just don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know what these guys are thinking. So I want to talk a little bit about US and UK oil. So you can see here from these articles, UK ramps up gas and oil exports to EU, and you got US oil exports are surging in the US as well. So can you see something wrong with this two articles? First of all, both UK and EU, the petrol prices or the gas prices are rising. They're rising to really, really high level. Even today, they're almost £2 per gallon for normal petrol. And while that's happening, US is still exporting huge amounts of oil and gas to other countries. UK is doing the same. So what the hell is going on? Why are these oil companies allowed to export all of the oil and gas, increasing the prices in UK and America, while they are making a huge profit exporting all this gas to other countries? I'll tell you why. Because all of these oil companies in US and in UK, I'm talking about BP and Shell here, they've just got too much power. Too much power. The government was talking about putting a windfall tax on them, but that's not going to happen. I guarantee you that's not going to happen. They have literally too much power, these oil barons. They basically, and this is the problem with capitalism. When you let these companies get too big for their boots, I'm also talking about Apple and, Facebook and all these other big tech companies like Google. They have way too much power once they get too big for their boots. It's really, really hard to control them. And this is why China has been clamping down on all of their big tech companies over the past few years. They don't want them to get too big for their boots. You know, nowadays, look what they're doing. They're making huge amounts of profits. Shell and BP itself, they're making hundreds and billions in profits, while the rest of UK are struggling to make ends meet. The petrol prices are going up, the gas prices are going up, while these oil barons are making a killing. And it's the same in America. What the hell is going on? Doesn't anyone question this? So my last story of the day has to go to this article here. And this is probably the idiot of the day. And the idiot of the day is not the article itself, but to Sky News. Because this is the first time I've seen them report on something like this. But for the past 3 months, every time I look at Sky News articles, it's all about, you know, Ukraine is winning, they're winning so good, Russia is losing so badly. Every day they'd have these little map drawings saying how Russia's losing and how Ukraine is winning. They've stopped these ridiculous map things now. And now finally they're starting to speak the truth. So they're reporting on this guy who's a part of the Ukrainian Special Forces, and he's talking about how he's getting his ass kicked. So let's hear what he has to say.
The Ukrainians are mounting a determined defense, but it comes at a price. This is Marine Company Commander Alexander, waiting for the order to head to the front. What's it like when you are sitting here in this village waiting?
Ну, ми рідко просто так сидимо. Як правило, ми стараємося займатися, тому що багато під час ведення активних бойових дій з'являється багато поранених, є загиблі. Їх міняють на нових людей. Нові люди менш підготовлені, ніж люди, які були з нами ізначально. Тому приходиться постійно проводити заняття.
Here's part of the training. His unit ready for battle in 10 minutes or less. But they might not make it back. How many men have you lost since the war began?
У мене підрозділ був на 100% комплектований військовослужбовцями контрактної служби. Тобто це люди, які служать вже не перший контракт. Тобто 80% з них зараз є або вже не боєздатними через важкі поранення, або загиблі.
You can't sustain those sort of losses indefinitely, can you?
Ну, я навіть не знаю, як відповісти на це питання. Важко.
So you've got to give him a little bit of credit for, you know, finally getting the truth out. But there are still a bunch of idiots. I've seen some of the articles coming out of Sky News over the past 3-4 months. Absolutely ridiculous, stupid stuff coming out of Sky News. Absolutely idiotic. How stupid do they think the population of UK are? And probably most are stupid to even fall for it. But, you know, some of the articles coming out of Sky News, and finally now they're all turning. You've seen all of these papers over the past few weeks starting to turn. The Guardian is turning on Boris, and all of these papers in America are turning against Biden, and now Sky News are doing the same. And it really is not brave to do that. When you've been singing out of a particular hymn sheet over the past few months, and suddenly you change your tune, nobody's going to believe you or trust you. You know, an average human being in UK will suddenly say, hang on a second, you've been feeding me lies for the past 3-4 months. You've been saying that Ukraine was winning, Russia's losing. So what kind of stupid shit is this, that Ukraine has lost 80% of the troops? What are you telling me now? Are you saying that all of the stuff that you told me was lies? Or not truth? You know, I just can't believe the state of journalism around the world, and I feel sorry for all of these journalists that have to study for 3 years. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you know, you study for 3 years to get yourself a journalism degree. You get excited because you get a job in a really big paper like the Times or Financial Times and Telegraph or Daily Mail, But then you realize you just don't have any freedom to write what you want. You don't have any freedom to do real journalistic work. You don't have any freedom to do actual work where you do your investigations. And basically you're like a puppet. You've been told what to write, told what to do. You just gotta look at these papers, and you must feel a lot of shame. If you're a journalist coming out of university and you work for a really, really good paper, and you find out that you're not really a journalist, you're just a little pawn that they are using to write propaganda. Before I go, don't forget, I'm doing some live chats with some of my Patreon members. I'll be contacting you over the next few days. There have been a few who came forward. I'm also contacting a few celebrities to come and chat with me. A couple of them have already agreed to it. We're just trying to work out some schedules between us. A couple of big names have already agreed. I'm really, really actually chuffed that they actually know me and they follow what I do, and they know about my channels. I'm really, really happy about that. So it's just we just need to make it happen. Get it down scheduled. I do work full time, so it's really, really hard for me to find time to do it, and this is why I haven't done live stream, because I just don't have the time, guys. But I think live streaming, I think it's about time I did it, to be honest. I've built up enough followers and my subscribers. I've gone over 21,000, and I think it's time to take it to the next level. And so I'm quite excited about it. So yeah, look out for it, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you can support me on Patreon, you can do so, or you can buy me a coffee. And don't forget, those who are on Patreon would be invited for live chats and stuff. And really, really appreciate you guys supporting me. Really, really appreciate it. I don't forget you guys. Friends for life, as they say. So yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next video. I've said that a few times already, and take care for now. Bye.